Nobody spoke much about climate change when I did my first expedition to the North Pole in 1990. And I did it for adventure. But now the Arctic is changing so fast. We are paddling where we used to ski. And polar bears are scavengers on land instead of hunting for seals on ice floes. I need to tell what is happening, and also how important snow and ice is for sustaining life on the planet. This is the most important expedition ever. And this call for action goes to all of us. Simply because we're all a part of the problem, and then we also all have to take part in finding solutions. And maybe we can use this enormous challenge that climate change truly represents to bring out the best in us and reveal what humanity can become.
My grandfather is the last survivor of the first ascent of Mount Everest in 1953. He is 90 now, and I'm 31, and both of us have watched the snow and ice melting rapidly in our lifetimes. I grew up surrounded by the world's highest mountains, playing in their snow. Now, I've dedicated my career to studying them. In fact, the glaciers here are not just melting, they're warming up from the inside. 1/4 of humanity will be hit by the loss of the Hindu Kush Himalayas cryosphere. It was in 2015 in Paris that world leaders agreed to limit warming to 1.5 degrees. But 1.5 degrees is too hot. We need the world to go in emergency mode again and act now to save our snow.
Up to 60% of Bhutan's glaciers will vanish by the end of this century. Nearly all will be gone soon after that. Our people, those that have contributed literally nothing to climate change, find ourselves on the front line to increasingly devastating climate impacts. This autumn, I have decided to cycle all the way to the UN Conference of Parties, carrying with me the 2 bottles of glacier meltwater, a symbol of the rapid, irreversible loss to mountain ice, to call for world leaders and businesses to open their eyes to the unprecedented speed at which we are losing a frozen planet. We know enough about what's happening to know what needs to be done. Choices made now will decide the future for billions. It begins with all of us. Let our voices echo from the roof of the world through the halls of power, demanding action and change. Save our snows.
मतलब हमारे पास वक्त नहीं है बिल्कुल भी. हमारे लिए जिंदगी मौत का मसला है. अपोकलिप्स जिसे हम कहते हैं, वेस्ट में अपोकलिप्स कहते हैं कि अभी आगे जाके आएगा. यहाँ पाकिस्तान में वो अपोकलिप्स हो रहा है. वही बात है कि हम उन्हें मैसेज दे दे के थक गए क्योंकि वो नहीं सुन रहे. मगर मैसेज देने का फ़ायदा तब होता है जब दूसरा इंसान सुन रहा हो. ये बात है कि अब हम दुनिया में देख रहे हैं कि बहुत ज़्यादा लोग यूथ को एम्फसाइज़ कर रहे हैं, मगर हम यंग लोग काम कर नहीं सकते विदाउट द ओल्डर पीपल दैट आर इन पावर. बूढ़े लोग हैं, उनको साथ मिल के काम करने की ज़रूरत है.
Global warming is accelerating. The action window is closing. Half of glaciers are estimated to disappear by 2100. A collapse cryosphere will induce far-reaching consequences, including sea level rising, cascading breakout of tipping elements, as well as the severe impacts on water resources and wildlife habitats. Only taking the responsibility and action immediately, we can safeguard our planet and shape a sustainable future.
The threat of sea level rise creates a multitude of risks for the city of New Orleans and our surrounding areas, including wetland loss, inland flooding, and increased subsidence. If the current trend holds, New Orleans will be a literal coastal city within the next 50 years with no protective land barriers. However, the main threat is inland flooding due to the more intense and frequent rainfalls. To combat inland flooding, reinforcing and creating sustainable infrastructure is essential to fight back against climate change. The time is now.
Haiti faces the Pacific Ocean, and we have more than 40 islands. The ocean plays a crucial role in our lives, and sea level rise could pose a serious threat to us. We have a grave and unavoidable issue of flood tides. They are brought by typhoons, and sea level rise would only worsen the problem. Therefore, we are committed to contributing to carbon neutrality.
Merci de l'opportunité de vous rejoindre pour appeler à l'action contre les graves menaces à la cryosphère. Collectively, we cannot just bear witness to these accelerating events. We are resolved to act. The most important thing that we can do to protect the cryosphere and people and livelihoods everywhere is by rapidly lowering our emissions in this critical decade. COP28 must produce an ambitious outcome that helps keep 1.5 degrees within reach, including through our work on the global stocktake. We must seek to better understand unknown risks by improving our science around these critical planetary systems. Particularly, we need to understand what are called the tipping points, the points at which there is no reclaiming, there is no coming back. We must work together and further strengthen our cooperation on these critical issues in our existing venues.
I'm here in the Himalayas where glaciers are melting at record level. Like in Greenland, like in Antarctica, sea levels are rising, and here we see floods, we see landslides, we see communities being dramatically impacted. We must stop this madness. We must make sure that we limit temperature rise to 1.5 degrees. Glaciers are retreating. We cannot retreat. We must move forward with climate action.